is it too late to call you right back? I gotta be begging to say.
So we gonna have to redo the whole shebang, the whole thing. It's cool though. Fix it. I don't know what happened to that wall ghetto. What's going on, guys? So as a lot of you guys do know, typically on Thursdays I hold my temperature check Thursday calls and I host it on a live stream. Unfortunately, I have no idea at what point my phone stopped the recording, and my camera just wasn't recording. I had no idea. I didn't even notice. I got so into the call that I literally just completely went over my head. At the very end when I went to stop it, I was like, where you at? But it's cool. Fortunately, I like to keep a lot of notes before my calls because I like to make sure that I don't miss out on anything that I do want to cover, like especially like the topics that I do want to cover. Make sure I hit all the points, so I will be able to still cover the basis of what it is that I was speaking on the live call. Today I was actually really getting into the whole concept of breaking habits. I feel like a lot of times where this stemmed from is the fact that, you know, like a lot of times we do justify a lot of the small habits that to us might even seem to be something that's like super harmless and, you know, no one's watching, like what we do behind closed doors. Sometimes it could be something really small, and we fail to realize how much of a long-term self-destruction some of these habits can actually be, how many times it can actually be blocking us from actually obtaining something a lot different, and how much further we could get and progress if we adjusted some of these habits, if we reprogrammed ourselves with some of these habits, right? So I do want to apologize. I have not been consistent with my videos these past weeks. Like I did have, I don't know if I have bronchitis, what the heck is wrong with me, but I have a horrible cough. Now I can actually get sentences across, but beforehand it was just really bad, for like heavy for me to breathe. No, I'm not sick. I do not have COVID, nothing like that. But we are back to regular programming. So back to what I was saying, breaking habits, right? So that was the whole subject on today's call. I mentioned how problems are memories from the past, and memories are connected to people and things. Think of your brain as almost a recording of the past. Like our brain has unlimited memory, unlimited storage. It's really weird. Even though we don't, not all memories live actively in our mind. We don't remember every single aspect of our life, but we do tend to suppress a lot, and our memory never really forgets. Just because we've suppressed it, just because we don't address it every single time, it doesn't mean that it doesn't still live there. A lot of times it actually is the core and what strengthens a lot of habits. You know, sometimes we do things in a sense of a protection, you know, and we don't want, like if I don't do, I got hurt by doing this, so I will prevent it by not doing that. And to not do that, I'm going to develop this and this and this and this habit to allow me to make sure that I'm protecting myself so I never feel that again. It's almost like ties back into what I had covered in the past with traumas. So, like I did say, memories are connected to people and things. Think of your brain as a record from the past, and people's entire state of being changes when you start your date in the past. So what does that mean? That the predictable past that you allow yourself to be stuck in will actually dictate your future in the long run. So whatever small habits, just because they're small habits, you allow to actually take part in your day-to-day life and remain as active as possible, it's actually going to prevent you from obtaining the future that you want, because it's almost like you're holding yourself back in the past by allowing these habits to still, these habits that you developed on your own, to be like your force of protection, right? So we tend to create this protection for ourselves from being hurt, failing again. And like I did say, you create these for yourself. How many of you, I asked the question of how many of you actually believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny? And everybody, of course, did agree. We can all agree on that. So if your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, then and you don't allow yourself to think greater than how you feel based on your soul emotions, then you are living in your past. So for as long as you do this, you will continue living the same life, right? Breaking out of old habits is what's going to allow you to actually excel in life, to get that step further, right? Once you stop limiting yourself, you actually are able to move forward, take that next step. So it's like going to the gym. A lot of people that I know have owned a gym membership, had a gym membership, whether you actually are actively going to, whether you look at the gym membership as like a little donation to keeping the lights on, a little contribution. Everybody has at one point had a gym membership. And let's say, for example, you go to the gym, you bought the membership, you go to the gym, you set your mind to actually have an end goal, right? But you still eat the same food. So yeah, you'll see results, but not as great of the results as you would if you were to actually eat the proper food and apply yourself to actually make the results show of the amount of hours, the long hours of exercise that you're actually putting in. So you see, when you want to obtain the 6-pack, right? Toned up muscle definition, whatever, you want to be able to wear whatever size makes you feel comfortable about yourself. Like you want to cut down to a size 2, cut down to size 6. I don't care, whatever makes you feel comfortable, right? You cannot pick and choose the shortcut. Sometimes there are no shortcuts, and you can train, but if you leave the gym and you hit McDonald's, you will never achieve your ultimate body goal. You will never achieve that goal because you are thinking like, what you do behind closed doors. Like it's a little like you're putting all the hard work in. I deserve this McDonald's. As it goes into justifying things that really you have no business justifying in. If you really want to obtain these goals, you're never going to see a 6-pack if you justify with having McDonald's at the very end of your entire workout that you work so hard for. You're almost like contradicting yourself. That's the product of self-destruct, right? So in order to obtain results that you've never had, you have to be able to do what you've never done before, right? The main reason why I'm using the analogy is because, not necessarily, I'm not here to talk about fitness or anything like that, but it's something that we can all relate to. The main purpose as well is because I like to always incorporate the 80-20 principle to a lot of things. 80-20 principle is something, for those of you who don't know, I would familiarize myself with it. There's audios on it. There's actually books on it. The 80-20 principle is something that applies to every single aspect of our lives. And when it comes down to the gym, it's 80% what you eat, 20% the workout. When it comes down to trading, it's 80% mental, 20% skill. And this really does apply to a lot of different patterns. Like you see the pattern right there, it applies to many different aspects in our lives. So, but what we do not get to choose is what we give in life our 80% to. Okay, so understand this. This is not a have it your way world, right? So this principle has been instilled for years, for centuries. Like it's a real thing, okay? And there's some people in this world who want to receive the 80% in results by putting in 20% work. And that's not okay. Like it's really not our call. So how we do anything is how we do everything. Everybody has heard that before. So habits that end up taking 80% of your life are giving us what outcome? If you really think about it, habits really do take up 80% of our life. And what I mean by that is a habit as simple as how you brush your teeth, what side of the bed you sleep on, what time you go to sleep, what you do before you go to sleep, how you wake up, like what side of the bed you get up from, like little things like that. Like those are all like little habits. Our whole entire day consists of habits. Like our morning routines, that turns into a small habit, right? Oh, I like to turn the coffee machine on before I actually go do this or read the newspaper, whatever it is that you do. Like your whole entire day consists of habits. So it's safe to say that 80% of our whole entire day consists of habits. So what are these habits actually contributing to, right? Like if 80% of the work that we put in gives us 20%, which is our results, what is 80% that you're feeding so much of? What is that consisting? Is that just empty habits? Are they actually allowing, or are they giving you the 20% return that you are looking for, that the 80-20 principle says? Like, what are your habits? And I feel like it comes down to us actually really reflecting, right? What that means is that, excuse me, let's reword it. Let's change the 6-pack gym analogy, right? To where we're all at right now. This is what I said on the call. I'm just reading through the notes. But what could we be doing different? What do you know that you really need to drop because you want to have the 6-figure lifestyle? So let's shift right now. Let's change the 6-pack, because not everybody wants to have a 6-pack, and we're shifting it to 6-figure lifestyle. What do you need to change in order to be able to obtain that 6-figure lifestyle? What habits do you need to shift? Because if it's an 80-20 principle in this world, then what do we need to change? Let's replace the McDonald's that's blocking your 6-pack, that only you know how hard you've been working for. Let's replace it with, what are you still being so lenient on yourself with, right? So because no one is watching, when no one is watching, habits are your habits. Sometimes they are such a part of you that you really don't even see them. And I even use the analogy of, like, let's say I'm eating next to somebody and they're chewing completely ridiculous with their mouth wide open, just chomping on food. And I'm like, close your mouth. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, it sounds horrible. To that person, they must be like, what's wrong with this girl? You know, like, there's nothing wrong with me. And it goes to show, like, sometimes we get so uncomfortable, and it's like, it's almost like we feel like we get called out on things. We get called out on our habits left and right. It happens to me. I'm not perfect. A lot of times I end up cursing more than I should. And I get called out and I'm like, watch your mouth. And it's like, who are you to tell me how to talk, right or wrong? But it all ties in with the fact that I'm not going to be able to stand in front of a crowd of 10,000 people cursing every other word that comes out of my mouth, right or wrong. So something I have to work on. I have to polish it, because in order to obtain something that I've never had, I have to do something I've never done. So it applies to myself as well. And that's something that I like to really discuss on the calls. The fact that it's like, we don't seek perfection. We just really seek accountability on these calls. And that's what they're really for. And what might seem normal to us really is not. And that's why, like, I like to get uncomfortable on these calls. Like, I advise everybody to jump on a call, even if it's once. Like, you don't have to come back every single Thursday, but it's different from seeing the recording than actually having the live. Like, right now, like, I mellowed down, I let everything off my chest, so it's a lot different. But when I'm actually on these calls, when you catch me in the fire and you actually catch me speaking on this stuff, and it's just so much better. Like, it's like really being tapped into the fire. I'm really upset that I didn't catch the whole recording, because it was an amazing call, but we're still moving forward. I'm still getting the point across. It's still a subject that I want to have up on my channel, because it's something that we cannot ignore, right? So that's what I was saying. Just because it's your habit doesn't make it okay, because we are not perfect. Realistically, we don't strive for perfection, like I did say before, and all we really do is focus on growth ultimately, right? So stop half-assing your growth. So because you're creating excuses, no one is watching. Oh, it's how I've always been, it's what I've always done, like, it's really not that big of a deal. Because if you continue doing it, then you'll probably just have you'll only obtain a little more than what you've always had, but you'll never really reach that full potential. Does that make sense? Like, it's like going back to the gym analogy. You can put so much work in. You can hit the treadmill, you could train, you could whatever, but you want a 6-pack, right? But you're putting all the work out and all the work, and you're just in there days clocking in, right? But all you get is a flat stomach. Why? Because you're still doing these little stupid habits of going to McDonald's. Like, back to that analogy. So yeah, you could put all the work in and you're gonna get a little bit closer, you know, like, you got a flat stomach. That's a good thing, right? But you're not gonna have that defined 6-pack. You're not gonna attain that body fat percentage that you need to obtain in order to have the 6-pack, to have the healthy lifestyle. I even covered earlier as well about how people just find little ways to reward themselves. And I feel like sometimes we celebrate before the actual championship, and that's a really big downfall. Like, we sometimes our little habits, we celebrate that, we allow our bad habits to be a reward for the good. And even that ends up putting a setback on us. If you think about it, let's say you finally obtain a 6-pack. You're like, whew, I look strong. I look great. Let me go out for a drink. You go out for a drink. You end up celebrating whatever the heck. You go 1 bottle in. You finish the whole entire bottle. You finish more than a certain amount of drinks, right? And then it's like, you celebrated it, but guess what? Now you have to work out twice as hard, 3 times as hard, because by the time you get all that out of your system, by the time that you actually bounce back into the type of the clean state that you were in, and not just that, but now you gotta burn all the calories. You gotta sweat it all out. You gotta burn the calories. You gotta get back in shape. You gotta get back on track. And it's like you really end up creating little setbacks, major setbacks, minor for something that was so minor. Like, do you guys follow? So I know it might sound silly, but this is when it really comes down to us reflecting. Like, what corners are you cutting? This even goes for like everybody spiritually. And I even use the whole situation of like going to church. Like, I personally go to church twice a week, right? That's just my preference. Like, I go Wednesdays and I go on Sundays. But we actually got called out on this the other day. And that's really what all this whole subject did stem from. We got called out on this other day, and the pastor was like, okay, cool. You come to church on Sundays. You're here, you're praising, you're worshiping, you're front and center, you're very engaged, you're, taking notes, you're, soaking it all up. But what are you doing on Monday through Saturday? Like, what are you really doing? Are you really applying what you're doing, or are you just putting up a show? And I think that a lot of times nowadays, everybody's just so quick with putting up a show because it's so easy to front. And I blame social media. I blame all this stuff because, bouncing back to the gym analogy, I have people that go to the gym every single day. They post, because they post it on Instagram. You don't know because you see them there. You don't know because of the results, because they look the same. But you see that they posting it live on their social media. They're taking the picture. They're taking the video. But just because you showed up doesn't mean you really put the work in that you were supposed to. Doesn't mean that you leave there and you do what you're really supposed to. Just because I show up to church on Sunday doesn't mean that, like, look at me, like, I still slip up. Like, my call, I literally, like, drop a couple bombs, and, like, I'm not perfect. I'm not here to preach perfection. I'm here to preach, like, reality. Like, this is something that you can all relate to, and this is really what goes on. But it all comes down to, like, actually journaling it, actually reflecting on it, unprogramming yourself. So point out the ugly truth within yourself. You don't need to wait for somebody else to point it out on you. Like, you don't need somebody to sit there and call you out on it. Don't give somebody the satisfaction to do that. Do it yourself. Track your daily habits. Track everything that you do, like your water. Like, I have this little journal that actually you can, and I'll tag the link for where you can purchase these journals because I'm big on journaling. I actually have one that is a daily habit and a daily habit tracker with intentions and gratitude, all in one book. And it has you tracking like your daily activities, routines, like thoughts, accountability, like that type of thing. Like, it's really dope. And it's something that I advise everybody to really just do so and look back and see your personal growth, see what you didn't hit, see what you missed, and make that a priority for your next day, for your next week, right? But unprogramming ourselves is going to be the hardest part, but it's worth it. It's well worth it. Because like I said before, guys, we self-sabotage. We don't allow ourselves to reach our maximum potential sometimes because we're holding on to the really small things, and sometimes it could be really meaningless. And you're allowing something meaningless to not allow you to live your purpose in life. And that just sounds silly. So I also hit this valid point as well on the call, and I was like, do not lose your free will to a program. 95% of who we are by the time that we're 35 years old is a monetized set of behaviors, emotional reaction, unconscious habits, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions that function like a computer program. Okay? So, track your habits. You can lie to yourself. You can lie to everyone else, but you cannot lie to yourself. Change is uncomfortable, but it is very necessary. And sometimes without realizing, like I did say, guys, we block our own blessings. It's a matter of just us actually taking full ownership on what the heck it is that we need to change, what we need to do, what's blocking you from actually achieving that next level, what's blocking you, what are you not doing, what are you justifying that is not allowing you to actually get to where you need to get to. And journaling is one way. Really actually taking a deep look at yourself, like writing down, even if you don't want to journal, like just sit down one day and write down your what your day-to-day consists of. How you can do better. It's always a matter of acknowledging it, right? I actually at the end of the call had a couple of people volunteer. I had 7 people volunteer and ask and tell me what is something that they want to be held accountable for. I even put myself on the list and I was like, guys, I need you guys to hold me accountable for this, right? I have 7 people that are being held accountable for different things, whether it be a new new position at their job, a new life goal, exercising, things of that sort. So I actually even said being impeccable with word, which is something that's super valuable because I can definitely relate. And it's just a matter of whether you have an accountability partner or not, guys. It's really important for you to dig deep and unprogram yourself. We live in a world that is so easy to just get caught up. It's so easy to just justify so many things. Like, I know I've been there. The new season comes out and you're just like, ooh, I have to finish the whole entire season. But you really just put aside a bunch of tasks that you were supposed to be getting done. And guess what? Now you put yourself back. And was it really worth it? No. Did that season pay you anything? No. Did that season put any money into your pocket? No. But this is the world that we live in. All these distractions are put out into the world and they're so easy to get access to us and they're so accessible to us. We are accessible to all these distractions because it's almost like media preys on us, if that makes any sense. We're not meant to break out of certain cycles. We're not meant to do certain things, but it's completely solely up to us to really dig deep and be like, no, I'm going to make a change. I need to make these changes within myself to obtain something different. So that sums up the majority of the call today. The very end of it was more so like interactive, which I don't really even document. I like to keep the privacy between everybody. It's a big group of us and it's already hard enough for them to get vulnerable by unmuting themselves on the chat. So I can only imagine like putting them on YouTube. I'm not going to do them like that. But with that being said, Temperature Check Thursdays is each and every single Thursday live. If this is something that interests you, that you want to have the live link, I super invite you guys and recommend it because I love these calls. I really feel like I'm able to dig deep. I meditate on the thought of what the heck it is that I'm going to talk about. The subject each week is very different. And we get really personal, very, very vulnerable. I can't even talk at this point. But yeah, guys, at the end of the day, growth is the ultimate goal. And I invite you guys to actually tune into a live call. If not, I will definitely be seeing you guys here each and every single after Temperature Check Thursdays. I do my best to upload everything on the Thursday nighttime. If not, then Friday morning. But you will definitely have these calls uploaded weekly, and I look forward to seeing each and every single one of you here. Thank you for your time, and let's go.